Hello everybody and welcome back to another breakdown video. We've got two trades to go over today. So we've got yesterday's AU and then today's AU. We've got two in the same pair. Obviously yesterday's was a break even and today's is a current runner. Let's get straight into it. So New York Open, let's have a look for our structures. So situation one, we have all the way up here, bit of a massive range to be fair. That's our situation one range. Now, when your situation one range is that big, you're basically only really going to be bothered about situation two from that session open itself. The only time, obviously, we're now going to be able to trade situation one is going to be if we get like a break, and then that's going to be our first intent, successful retrace, break. Okay, kind of like the trade from last week. But yeah, so big range. So our main focus at this point is going to be on situation two. So our situation two high is here and we haven't yet created that low, so we need to now wait for that low to be created to then create our trading range. Let's continue to play. So still no low created, and now we create that low because we get that body break. So in terms of situation two, we're only really going to be too focused on breaking to the downside here, funnily enough, because our high is outside the session, isn't it? Yeah. So we want all of the structures to be inside, yeah? Obviously, if you trade like me, yeah, situation one and two. Let's just continue to play and see what happens. Okay, so we get a break to the downside. So that's going to be our intent. We can now move our high. Cool. And now where's our OB to come back to for the mitigation? I think it's quite clear at this point that it's here. Let's continue to play. Okay, so the retracement starts. We create our new low. Let's mark that out. Okay, nothing to do yet, nothing to do yet. And we break to the upside. Okay, so now what does that create? That now creates bullish intent. So we need to reset our ranges. Let's get rid of everything and reset everything, okay? So first things first, our low is going to be here. And now we haven't created our high yet, have we? Let's continue. Oh, sorry, I didn't need to get rid of that. Let's continue to play. Oh, let's mark out our POI as well, but yeah, Russian. There's our impulsive OB. So now what do we need to do? We need to wait for exactly the same thing. We need to wait for price to get back to there and then give us our mitigation. Create the high. Okay, so we've now just reacted from that impulsive OB. So what do we need to see? We need to see a follow through. Let's get rid of our situation one for now. Little pullback again. And then eventually we get our breaker structure. Now, okay, cool. So what do we have? We have our situation two intent. We have our situation two successful retrace. It comes back to the impulsive OB. It's nice and clear. It comes between the open and the 50%. Let's get rid of this and then let's mark on our order flow. And then we create our successful retrace and our second breaker structure. Okay. Now the only slight complexity with this one in itself is that the OB, if we mark out the OB right, it's just not clear at all, is it? So straight away for me, I'm looking to refine that down because that as a POI is just not, it's just not okay, not clear at all. So let's just refine it down to the imbalance, okay? And then let's start to work our way down through the time frames. So I think a few of you were a little bit confused why I didn't mark the 30-second out, but we need to remember that our refinement still needs to be a break of structure, more specifically a major break of structure, okay? So if we have a look at our ranges, so we have this low, this high, this high here, break, mitigation, break, retrace, mitigation, break. Now in terms of the 30-second, our low is here, right? So we simply cannot use the 30-second to refine. We can't do it because nothing in the 30-second here is relevant because it didn't cause a break of structure, okay? So let's get rid of all of that again. And then we need to go down another time frame. Do we have anything relevant here? And now what we can see is, okay, so now we've got, let me mark it all out again. So we've got a 15-second break, high created, break to the downside, break, and then break. So now what we can do is refine it down to, let me get this back on, to this candle here, okay? I think that's what you get. Some of you are getting a little bit confused about, but your refinement still needs to follow the rules. Your refinement can't just be a random candle inside a block, okay? And by definition, what does an order block do? It causes a break of structure. So in this scenario here, I simply just refine it down a little bit more. Just because that 1 minute wasn't the clearest in the world, I want a nice precise reaction point for our entry. So let's get rid of all of this. Break. Cool, let's go back to our base time frame, our 1 minute. Now at this point here, you just want to have a quick little check that we don't have any conflict. So let's have a look. Nothing there at all. Let's have a look here. Again, nothing there at all. 4 minute, nothing there at all. And the 5 minute exactly the same. Okay, so now we're just going to follow on our 1 minute. So let's continue to play. So we create our new 1 minute high. Why does this keep going off? There we go. Create our new high. Let's mark that out. So now all we need to do is wait for price to come back to the POI. Price reaches the POI. Okay, so what's your first thing to do? You guys should know this all by now. Mark out your 5-second range, 5-second low, and 5-second high. Okay, have a quick little check where your 15-second high is, just to make sure that if you break both at the same time, you're going to use your 15-second, and your 15 seconds all the way up here, so you don't really need to worry about that for now. Let's just continue to play. Cool, so we get that 5-second intent and we are ready to enter. Okay, now in this scenario here, it's not actually the easiest entry in the world. You know, from a base standpoint, from what we can see right now, it's not the clearest intent. Why is it not the clearest for me? Well, if this candle down here was a sell candle, then that's absolutely fine. This is our last sell candle here. However, the issue with this one is if we enter off here, we can't get our maximum 2-pip stop loss, right? Because we still need to make sure we cover that low, because price has reason to come down here. Cool. So from this scenario here, essentially all I saw this whole sell before this buy. So if we then go off that whole sell to buy, we can now get our maximum 2-pip stop loss. Yeah, we can get a nice entry. You know, 2 pips is still 2 pips. It's absolutely fine. Ideally, you want less, but in this scenario where it's not overly clear, that's absolutely fine for me. I'm not looking to be too picky. Let's just continue to play. So we create our high. Let's mark out our high. Let's change that to black and continue to play. This is a nice one because we've got loads of time to set that buy limit. Okay, so we're now in the trade. It's messing about. We're waiting for that next break of structure, which we get any moment now. Not yet. And then we get that break of structure. So now I'm going break even. You know, you guys should all know my rules by now from going through the PDF. So now I'm break even. I've gone on MetaTrader and I've set to break even. The most important thing now to do is to set our 1 to 10 alert so we know when to take partials. So we're setting that alert there, and then we're not doing anything with the trade unless it hits that point. Now, quickly on the topic of take profits, you don't have to do the same as me. You know, if you're going for funding, etc., for example, you can just take out like 1 to 5, just close the whole thing. That's absolutely fine. Even at a 1 to 5, if you're trading high probability, you know you're going to make some good gains and you're gonna compound nicely. So don't be scared to take less risk reward. Obviously, we all want to hit those 1 to 20s, 1 to 30s, 1 to 100s. But while you're compounding and you're growing your account, or you're creating a funding to create your own account, nothing wrong with taking partial sooner, okay? Or even closing the whole thing. This trade here, we got a really nice push away, a little bit of a pullback, another really nice push away, and then unfortunately we just come back to break even. And that's absolutely fine. You're not going to get, there we go. You're not going to get that 1 to 10 every single time. It's just not going to happen. At this point here, when we enter, you know, we're completely accepting the fact that we're risking 1% of our account, or I am doing 1%, for example. And if we hit, that 1 to 10, then happy days. You know, we are just trading that edge that we know over a long run. It just works, doesn't it? You know, we've seen the results. Well, I certainly have. Cool. So that was that one. I think that was all quite clear. I think the only slight complexity there was that 1 minute base OB, where we just need to refine it down a little bit. A little bit confusion on that 30-second OB, but we should have cleared that up now, why we couldn't use that 30-second, because it's just simply not. It's not an OB. It didn't cause any break of structure within our refinement candle. Cool. So let's move on to the next one. So let me get rid of all of that for now. Let's just play. Let's get rid of all of this. I'm still on a higher time frame. So London, nothing in London for me today, and then New York. Cool. So let's do exactly the same thing as we just did. We'll start on the 1 minute again. Load. Let's go back to here. So let's do the same thing again. Where's our structure point? So we've got our major high, break a structure, retrace. So we're currently in this as our situation 1. Is that right? Let me just double check. So we're in this range, break, 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 break. Yeah, cool, perfect. Let's continue to play. And now we create that break structure to the downside. However, that would be situation 3 if we look to trade off there. I don't trade situation 3 myself. Let's move our high down and get rid of this and continue to play. Okay, so we're still waiting. I think it's this candle. Yeah, this candle here. So we then create our low. So there's our range. Continue to play. Just waiting for a break outside of. Now, obviously, you can trade. Let me just double check that. I don't know why, it just doesn't seem right. No, it's perfect. You can obviously trade within that range. There was just simply nothing there. Simple as that. Continue to play. Okay, it was a bit of a funny one. I remember this afternoon. So we get that break structure to the upside, and then as soon as I started to look at where my OB was, it literally came flying back down. So let's mark out that. Now, there's a little bit of confusion with this as well. That is inside your session. Okay, as long as it's inside the new color, that's why I suggest using the session's what's it called, indicator. As long as it's within the new, that is situation 1 or 2. Okay, simple as that. Cool. So then let's move our low. It's going to be here. If we work our way back, that's our last candle body break. You guys know that. So where's our POI? This one wasn't the clearest in the world. Obviously, it was this one here, but then we just I refined that straight down to the imbalance. Okay, so let's now wait. Straight away, we come back down. Let's mark out the high. Continue to play. And then we break to the downside on, was it this candle? Nope, next candle. Oh, not yet. Okay, so there we break to the downside. So what do? We invalidate that POI and we create intent to the downside. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Let's draw out our intent. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so where's our POI? I think it's quite clear. We've got this imbalance sat here within this buy candle to then the volume comes in. So I think that's pretty clear to me personally. Continue to play. We then create our low on, is it this one? Yeah, we create our low on this candle here. So we've now got our range. We're within that POI that we wanted to see mitigated. So let's continue to play. And then we get a nice follow through with a nice momentum to the downside. POI on this one is really clear. You know, we didn't really need to think about this too much. We've got imbalance, we've got momentum. It's nice and small. I think it's like a pip and a half, was it? Yeah, 1.3 pips, so nice and small. Cool, let's continue to watch. So price comes straight back in. So let's go for our, I'm going to get rid of the sessions thing for now, it's just a bit easier. So in terms of our range at the moment, it's all the way up here to all the way down here. So there's not actually a lot we can do. In this situation, you almost need a new high so you can reset your low, if that makes sense. Let's continue to play. Cool, so we get that new high, as I was just explaining now. So now we can create a new low. Well, mark out our new low, which is a bit closer. And we get that breaker structure. So we have our intent and we are ready to enter just like the last trade. In terms of the entry on this one, I think it's pretty clear myself. We have our last buy to sell. So we have this whole range here. Obviously you could enter off the absolute extreme if you wanted to, but for me that's a little bit over refined. I almost did half a pip stop loss on this one, you know, it's close, but I always do one and a half or two, so I stuck to that one. I also didn't have half a pip worked out. I'm not that quick at maths. So I just kept with the 1 pip stop. I could obviously have done half, but one's fine for me. Yeah, cool. Let's continue to play. Cool. So we now have our trigger. So our limit is now on. So now we either need to wait, obviously, until we get taken out, or we break this structure again to the downside. So we get a little liquidity grab to the upside, and then we go and break structure to the downside. So at this point here, I'm break even as per the PDF. And then what do? Our next important thing is to mark out our 1 to 10 and set an alert. Cool, so we're break even, we're waiting for our partial point. Let's continue to play. And we get our partial point, okay? So at this point here, for me, I always close 5R at that 1 to 10. In this scenario here, I close a little bit more quite quickly at 1 to 15, simply because I was a little bit busy this afternoon and I couldn't sit, and have my phone next to me the whole time for that alert to go off. So let's just continue to play. Here's where the psychology is tested, and some of you would have closed, I'd imagine, but no need for that. Stick to your rules. Unless you obviously want to close quicker, like I said earlier, then that's absolutely fine. But in terms of letting the trade play out, just let it run. Cool. So 1 to 15. It was actually a little bit more than 1 to 15. By the time I came on my phone, it was like here, for example. So I closed another little bit there, and then the rest is currently running on as we speak. Let's see where it is now. Oh wow, it's broke even me as I was doing the breakdown. Okay. So what did we hit there? We hit a maximum of 1 to 28. We've taken our partials. Another nice trade added on over the last few months. I think it has been a little bit quiet, to be fair. I think some of you that joined us like at the beginning of the year were sort of seeing like these sort of trades like 3, 4, 5 times a week. There has been a little bit less recently. I think Tans was saying to me the other day that every summer he's traded, it's always been a little bit drier. And to be fair, like it's exactly the same thing for me. I have noticed, you just do get drier periods here and there, but the main thing is, the edge is still there. It just requires a little bit more patience. It's as simple as that. I think the main thing with FOMO, I think the main thing it hurts is people start taking trades that they know aren't visually clear, or they know you wouldn't trade if there was 10 opportunities a week. You would just bin that one off, but because there's not been any trades, you just take it. Or you might be on a challenge and you've got 2 weeks left and you see an okay setup, but there is a few problems with it. You might have, for example, you might have some conflict. You might have a higher time frame POI above or below, but you say, oh, I'm going to take it anyway because I need to, because I'm on the funding. And that is simply FOMO. That's all that is. I think everybody needs to trade a live account, like Tan says, for a while, to get used to the emotions, get used to being patient, get used to understanding that less is more. And yeah, it's just a much smoother ride when you're just a lot more chilled out. The other thing I would say quickly is I've had quite a lot of messages in the last couple of weeks of people that are trading, but that you haven't gone over the course properly yet. You don't understand the candle by candle structure. You don't understand what the major and minor structure is. The mitigations, the OBs. Even getting OBs wrong, for example, that's a bit of a red flag that you're not quite ready to jump onto the charts yet. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with learning from the charts and forward testing. I did a lot of that myself, but just it's very silly to rush into an FTMO account or something like that when you're not 100% with the rules. But yeah, happy days. It's quite funny actually. We got taken break even while I was doing this. But yeah, I hope that was helpful. Any questions, shoot them over, and I'll speak to you soon.